Animals contaminated by Compound V. The Boys and Neuman working together. Homelander discovers how to manipulate Ryan. Episode 5 of the 4th season of The Boys was filled with the brutalities that have become a trademark of the series, as well as manipulations and power struggles. Stay until the end of the video to check out all the details and Easter eggs behind this episode. Welcome to Comic Chronicles. The episode begins with movie announcements and integrated universes at the V52 Expo, similar to a D23 or Comic-Con of VOT. The image of the VCU timeline, the VOT cinematic universe, is gigantic and has various productions, resembling the timeline presentations by Kevin Feige. Each film identity closely resembles Marvel releases, such as Training A Train, which has an Avengers aesthetic, G-Man and the X-Men, or The Seven Forever and Wakanda Forever. VOT will have 32 projects just counting phases 7 to 10. During the event, we see Homelander having flashbacks of his visit to the laboratory in the previous episode, as well as seeing himself as a teenager and a baby in the labs. He is truly losing control more and more, and it becomes very clear here. Then we pick up where episode 4 left off with the plot of Huey and his father in the hospital. Daphne, Huey's mother, applied Compound V to his father, and shortly after, Huey Sr. wakes up from the coma caused by the stroke he had. At the Boys HQ, Butcher tells the Boys team that there is a virus that can kill Soups, but the problem is that this virus ended up in the hands of Victoria Newman. So they start planning to retrieve this virus. Back at the VOT event, Sage shows concern during the event and tells A-Train that she hasn't found the informant who has been leaking VOT information to the boys yet, but she is sure it must be someone from within VOT itself. To find out where Newman might be hiding this virus, Butcher and Mother's Milk bring back none other than Stan Edgar, Victoria's father and former CEO of VOT. Edgar makes a deal with the boys for his freedom and custody of his granddaughter in exchange for the virus. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Huey and his parents have a good family moment. His father appears to be well, and his mother gives him an engagement ring to propose to Annie. It was an emotional moment, especially with the interaction of the three characters. Edgar leads the group to a temporary Compound V testing laboratory on animals. There they encounter Victoria and her security guards, who are looking for Samir, the head scientist of the lab, and Zoe's father, Victoria's daughter. On their way through the farm where the lab is located, they enter a barn full of chickens infected with V. In a marketing meeting at VOT with Homelander and Ryan, the new VOT movie about Ryan, Super School, is presented. But he doesn't like the idea of the movie and refuses to act in it, with the support of Homelander, who says he can be honest about the movie and can decide to do whatever he wants. After the meeting, Homelander tells Ryan that they always used to tell him what to do or not to do when he was younger. He realized he was doing the same thing with Ryan and wanted to change that, allowing Ryan to make his own decisions. Ryan tells his father that he wants to genuinely help people and no longer engage in fake heroics. Here we feel a glimmer of hope in Ryan's stance, but it doesn't last long as we see his father manipulate him to distort what is right and wrong, turning a victim of harassment into an aggressor. At the farm, Newman realizes that Starlight's powers are failing and tells her that she is useless to the team without them. Newman also tells her that she saw Starlight beating Firecracker while it was live on national TV, highlighting how out of control Starlight was at that moment, and that shouldn't have happened. She concludes by saying that she understands the burden that Annie carries, but that by being Starlight so much, she has forgotten who Annie January is. This causes Annie to lose control once again and attack Newman, making it clear that Annie is spiraling due to everything that has been happening since the start of the season. She is so emotionally shaken that her powers are now failing. It's a bit like Peter Parker in Spider-Man 2. While walking through the woods, Butcher sees a dead rabbit but realizes that something is moving inside its belly. When he approaches, tentacles from some creature come out of the rabbit's belly, which scares Butcher, as he realizes that this creature moves just like the one affecting his own body. Earlier, A-Train reveals to Ashley that he was the traitor and tells her that she is now part of the plan because of what she did at Homelander's house. If she tells anyone, she will suffer the consequences. So she plants evidence on Coleman's phone, with calls to Mother's Milk, making him look guilty. Huey Sr. gets up from bed and disappears. He doesn't recognize Huey and talks about him as if he were still a child, already indicating that, in fact, as Butcher warned in the last episode, Compound V won't help. What follows is a sequence of brutality at the hospital. Huey's father suffers from what seems to be Alzheimer's, but with the strength and special powers of Compound V. He gains super speed, allowing him to pass through any kind of matter, whether it's a wall or human bodies. In one of these moments, he materializes in the middle of a patient's body and kills him, splattering blood and organs all over the floor. In addition to that, Huey Sr. doesn't recognize his son anymore and sees his ex-wife as the person who abandoned the family. He becomes aggressive, and a hunt ensues throughout the hospital. All these scenes showing Huey's father under the influence of Compound V, and the scenes involving the animals in the barn, serve to show the consequences of the compound's application, both in people and animals. However, in my opinion, all this part involving Huey's father was unnecessary, thinking about the narrative. At the farm, now dubbed the Woods in Gen V, Frenchie is seen carrying a rosary in his hands and keeping his distance from Kimiko and the rest of the group. This catches Starlight's attention, who notices the rosary and talks to him about believing in God. Frenchie believes in God and the sacraments, except for penance. He doesn't believe in being forgiven. Annie shows concern and urgently tells him to talk to someone, to talk to Kimiko, but he is afraid she will hate him and even more afraid that she won't. They are soon interrupted by more powered animals, forcing them all to run to a barn. In the barn, they find Samir, who has the last dose of the poison. The group is forced to use the syringe on one of the security guards who was attacked by the chickens to attract the infected sheep, so they would attack the body and die. During the plan, the group manages to escape from the infected animals, but Victoria discovers that Samir did not have the same luck. The boys take Edgar back to prison because the deal was for him to hand over the virus, which didn't happen. But just as he was about to be taken away, Neuman rescues him by making the heads of the agents who were escorting him explode. Before we continue, if you're a fan of The Boys and want to stay updated on all the details and Easter eggs of the series, leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. This helps us keep the channel running and helps us reach our goal of the first 1,000 subscribers. Also, I invite you to check out our playlist dedicated to The Boys, where we cover all the details of the 4th season. Thank you very much. After the V52 Expo, the superheroes hold a meeting at Vought, including Kate and Sam from the Gen V series. Homelander tells the heroes that the times are critical and they must stop being celebrities and start acting like angry gods to clean up the country and show that ordinary humans must obey and fear the superheroes. It's no wonder that we see, in other episodes, a symbol of a red flag with a white and black circle from the time of World War II in Homelander's house. In response to Homelander's words at the meeting, the first move of the Seven is to eliminate the informant, who is identified as Cameron Coleman, the Vought TV presenter. The heroes turn against Coleman and take his life. Consumed by guilt since the beginning of the season, Frenchie decides to turn himself into the police, claiming to have committed multiple murders. Regarding him, I mentioned in previous analyses, and I still hold the same opinion. Frenchie apart from Kimiko doesn't work well in the series. I have the feeling that both Frenchie and Kimiko want to shine individually in the series with their storylines, but they aren't as good as when they were together. Kimiko tries to call him to try to help him, but he refuses the calls and surrenders to the police. At the hospital, it is sad to see Huey's father in that condition, and there was only one solution for that. Huey and his mother need to carry out the euthanasia they didn't have the courage to do in the previous episode and let his fate be fulfilled. The final scene of the family with Huey saying goodbye to his father is powerful, and this moment between them was emotional. Huey Sr. passes away while giving a speech about being in Paris, visiting the locations from the Da Vinci Code with his son and ex-wife. Regarding Huey's storyline, I said it was unnecessary, and indeed, I felt that way. If they had developed the moment of Huey giving up Compound V and then moved on to the moment he says goodbye to his father, it would obviously have been different but dramatically better. In any case, Huey would still lose his father, so all these moments at the hospital gave a final feeling that it led nowhere. At the end of the episode, we find out that Butcher has captured Samir. He shows Kessler that he has removed one of the scientist's legs and keeps him locked up in the woods so he can recreate the virus without Neuman knowing. This episode was a level below the previous one. While in episode 4 we had Homelander's origin revealed intensely and spectacularly, especially thanks to Anthony Starr's performance, episode 5 focused back on the boys, and although some things were interesting, as a whole, the episode gave me the feeling that the plot tried but didn't go anywhere. In fact, I even felt that this episode was long due to these issues. Nevertheless, there are still some good aspects in this episode, such as its central theme that not every good deed will go unrewarded in the most horrible way possible. This is evident in the scenes involving Huey's father, Starlight herself, Frenchie, and even Butcher, who, despite being on the boys' side, still lies to them and can't abandon his old habits. Another notable detail is how Homelander is trying to get even closer to Ryan and slowly influence his actions, showing that, although immature, Homelander is clever when it comes to his own interests. Meanwhile, Ryan seems to be succumbing to the worst influences of his father, and A-Train may be closer to redemption. I also can't fail to mention how cool it is to see Giancarlo Esposito acting again in the series. He is so excellent in his acting that his reactions and subtle gestures alone convince you. You can see that these mentioned moments are quite interesting for the plot. The problem is that, apart from these details, the rest feels like a waste of time. The entire plot involving Huey and his father ended up the same way it had already ended in episode 4, except for the final moment when Huey's mother uses Compound V on his father. The same can be said about Kimiko and Frenchie, and even the boys themselves on their mission to find the virus. The hope that there is still a possibility to recreate the virus only exists because Butcher acted behind the group's back. This does worry me a bit because we are nearing the end of the season, and it still feels like the plot hasn't moved forward much, despite having many good moments. But now I want to know your opinion. Did you enjoy episode 5 of the 4th season of The Boys? Are you enjoying this season? Write your thoughts in the comments, let's discuss it. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications to be notified whenever a new video related to The Boys, DC, and Marvel is released. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.